Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to share with you my 5 top things anybody should look out for when they're going to buy new shrimp. Buying new shrimp is the most exciting time. You set up a tank, you're ready to go, you're down to the store, and you're often greeted with 5, 10, 15, maybe more different types of shrimp to purchase. And if you're shopping online, there can be dozens and dozens of different shrimp to pick from. These 5 tips I'm going to share with you will hopefully help you end up with the right shrimp for your setup and your experience level. So let's go straight in at tip number 1. And that is, make sure you know what shrimp you're buying. There are essentially 2 different types of shrimp we might end up buying. The Neocaridina or the Caridina. Now, before anybody posts in the comment that there are other shrimp, there are vampire shrimp, wood shrimp, there are many different types of shrimp available. Most people, when going to the store to buy dwarf shrimp, will end up with either the Neocaridinas or the Caridinas. Now, if you're new to the hobby, you may not know or really care what the difference is. But there are some major differences between the 2. Now, generalizing, Neocaridina shrimp, they like their water hard, that means lots of dissolved minerals, and they like a slightly higher pH, so 7.2 to 7.8 or even higher. Your Caridina shrimp, on the other hand, generally they like softer water, fewer dissolved minerals, and they like a lower pH, maybe 6.2 to 6.8 or 7. Now, my water comes out of the tap with a pH of around 7.6, and we have a lot of dissolved minerals. In my opinion, life's too short to battle your water parameters, so I stick with Neocaridina shrimp. If your tap water comes out at a low pH with few dissolved minerals, maybe you stick to the Caridina shrimp. Although with that said, it's much easier if you have soft water to raise the pH, to raise the hardness, than it is the other way around. The problem is when it comes to buying shrimp is we often use common names: cherry shrimp, blue dream shrimp, green jade shrimp, whatever they might be. The issue here being, I can call these shrimp whatever I want. I can sell these as yellow racing shrimp if I choose to. That doesn't help you, the buyer, know exactly what shrimp you're buying. So if you know these are a colour variation of Neocaridina shrimp, you know they want harder water and more dissolved minerals. Equally, if you know they were a variation of a Caridina shrimp, you know they're going to want softer water with fewer dissolved minerals. So when you're at the store or when you're speaking to the breeder and you're looking to buy shrimp, make sure you know, are they Neocaridina shrimp? Are they Caridina shrimp? Or are they something different altogether? So tip number 2, when you're in the store looking at the shrimp, is make sure the shrimp are active. These shrimp are on the go all day long. They rarely stop, constantly picking at something, darting around the tank. They're always active. If you're looking at the store, if you're looking into the tanks and the shrimp are still or barely moving, or worse still, hiding in the back corner, that should be a warning sign that something isn't quite right and you should avoid buying those shrimp. Now, of course, this is much more difficult if you're buying online because you don't get to see the shrimp. But if you're looking in the store and you're looking in the tanks, just take a few minutes, never be pressured into buying, take a few minutes, observe the shrimp, and they should be constantly going. Any shrimp that is still for a long period of time may well be showing you it has issues, and definitely I would avoid them. Often us fish keepers and shrimp keepers, we have soft hearts, and we see a shrimp or we see a fish and it's not looking the best and we think, I'll take it home and I'll save it. 99 times out of 100, if you take sick shrimp home from the store, they are going to die. There's very few things we can do. There's very little we can do to save a shrimp that is on its way out. So always make sure you're buying active shrimp. So tip number 3 really blends into tip number 2, which is, if possible, ask to see the shrimp eating. Now, good, healthy shrimp, they want to eat all day long. They're constantly on the go. They're constantly looking for something to eat. If you're at the store and you say, can you drop an algae wafer in so I can see? The store should be more than happy to do that. They should plop the algae wafer in or whatever sinking food they happen to be feeding their shrimp, and very quickly those shrimp should gather round. If for some reason the store refused to let you see the shrimp eating, or they put food in and the shrimp don't move, that may be a sign also you want to avoid those shrimp. Certainly in this tank here, I'll drop food into the feeding bowl. The shrimp, they come from nowhere. They're like little ninjas jumping around the tank. The minute they sense food in the water, they're on their way. That's a sign of a good, healthy, active colony of shrimp. If the store do drop food in for you and the shrimp aren't that bothered, don't be fobbed off with the expression, well, they ate this morning, they're probably not hungry. In my opinion, if I was buying shrimp and they weren't interested in food, I would either come back in a couple of days and ask them to see them feeding again, or I would just avoid them together. Never feel obliged or pressured into buying shrimp that don't seem as active as you might like. So tip number 4 is look out for what they call the white ring of death. Now, this is often hyped up in the hobby more than it needs to be. But the white ring of death is essentially a white ring that forms in the middle of the body when a shrimp has tried to molt, and due to a lack of minerals either in its diet or in the water, the two halves of the body have split, leading to a white ring. It can be very difficult from that point for the shrimp to complete its molt, and it does frequently end, unfortunately, in the shrimp passing away. If you're looking into a tank, it's much easier with dark shrimp like the red cherries and black rose, that kind of thing. If you're looking into the tank and a number of them appear to have this white ring, I would certainly avoid those ones and consider purchasing some different shrimp just in case there's some underlying issue going on. Once you see the white ring of death, as they call it, it's quite distinctive. Once you see it, you know it. But if you're looking into the tank and you're seeing more than 1 or 2 shrimp in a large colony with the white ring, then move on. Buy some different shrimp, or at least don't purchase those ones, because the chances are you'll take them home 2 or 3 days later, they've failed to have molt, and they will unfortunately pass away. That's a real shame on you shrimp. So tip number 5 is, when you're observing the tank of shrimp, is look for an excessive number of dead shrimp. Now, it's not uncommon if you've got a tank with 100, 200, 300 shrimp, in which a store may well have, for 1 or 2 dead shrimp to be present, that's not the end of the world. They may well have passed away since the store last looked in the tank. That's not necessarily the end of the world. But if you're looking in and you're seeing 10, 15, 20 dead shrimp out of a colony, then again, that may be a sign that there is an underlying issue with that group of shrimp, and they should probably be best avoided. There is nothing more demoralizing than you get your new shrimp home, 2 or 3 days later you look into the tank and they're all dead. You naturally blame yourself. It happens to us all at some point. But if you're looking into the tank and seeing a large number of dead bodies, A, it's not a good reflection on the store itself, but B, it may be that there is a problem with that group, and again, I would avoid them, or come back in a couple of days' time, have a look at the group, and see, are there more dead bodies, or were perhaps that batch had just come in, and the store were unlucky that 10 or 15 hadn't survived shipping very well. Talk to the store owners and ask them the question, and if they have a plausible answer, fabulous. Or if they try and fudge the issue and not discuss it, again, it may be a sign you want to avoid that group of shrimp. Now, I decided to make this particular video because over the last few weeks, a number of people have messaged me to ask what they should do when it comes to buying new shrimp. How do they know if they're buying good quality shrimp? I'm also asked quite frequently whether or not shrimp need a filter. And if you want to know how I managed to keep my shrimp without using filters, you should watch this video next. Thanks for watching.